Yes people, welcome back to Pearson Fitness. Today we are in the dungeon, aka the techno den. What do you call it? The techno something? I can't remember what it's called. Shout out to Lewis for naming the gym the techno dungeon. I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, last day of lockdown, gonna hit a pull day, and I thought I might as well film it and walk you through a pull day that I've been doing in the home gym. You can take this then into the gym, pick up a few tips and tricks from this pull day. I see a lot of back exercises, a lot of bicep exercises done wrong. This is just a routine that I've been doing and I enjoy doing it, and you might find it enjoyable too. So I thought I'd walk you through it. Excuse the hat, the lockdown trim is in full force, representing the WOB squad, if you know, you know. And yeah, I'm gonna get in, get warmed up, I'll walk you through my whole session. Right, so first of all, we'll jump into the warm-up. Greatest stretch. You've probably seen me do this exercise a million different times. If you haven't already, you should be doing it. Greatest stretch, loosen off the hips, the thoracic spine, especially if you're someone who's working from home, working at an office job. Hips, back, are going to be tight, so we always loosen off. 5 reps either side. Just get the heart rate going, get nice and warm, loosen everything off. Quickly did a few TRX inverted rows. You can see I'm taking my time with them, really squeezing the back again just to get warm. You can do these on the barbell as well if you want to. Then a few banded pullovers. Can do cable pullovers if you're at the gym, just again to get the lats firing, really thinking about keeping the arms locked in position and driving the elbows down towards the hips, and you should be able to feel your lats working as well. A little bit of triceps, but this is how I set the band up. If you're at home, just loop it through. You can use that for chin-ups as well if you're doing banded chin-ups, so some people don't know how to do it. Anyway, warming up. I don't do a lot of warm-up sets, obviously. Prior to what I've done, I've just done TRX rows. Pull-ups is going to be our first movement. I literally did 3 or 4 reps, body weight. Now with pull-ups, sometimes with a fixed bar, you can get a little bit of elbow pain. So I've just shown you here, you can use D handles, which you just hook them on. These are a little bit better as well for hitting the lats a little bit more. But for me personally, I want to work on my bar pull-ups anyway. I want to get better at them. As you can see, there's a bit more range of motion because you're dangling straight from, similar to like a ring pull-up if you've got Olympic rings anywhere. But again, if you've got any sort of elbow pain, these just allow a little bit of internal rotation at the elbow joint, which will alleviate a little bit of pain. So if you have elbow pain on a fixed bar, use D handles. So here's me just putting my weight on. I don't know why I'm just showing you everything that I'm doing, but gonna do 12.5 kilograms weighted. So I literally just did one warm-up set of the pull-ups, 4 reps, body weight, and jump straight into this, going all the way to failure. So the way that I'm working at the minute with my bodybuilding sessions is 1 top set of 6 to 8 reps, and then 1 back off set, a little bit higher rep range. So this is my 12.5. I think I've already done 15 kilograms the week previous. I kind of just messed my program up. So the idea is to progress the weight or progress the reps each week that you go up. So say last week I only managed 5 reps. I think I managed 6 reps, 6 reps at 12.5 kg. This week it got 7 reps, which is an improvement. We just keep on going up until we get to that 8 rep range. Then once we get a rep of 1 set of 8, then next week we'll progress the load. This is just to show in terms of rest periods. I always track my rest periods to stop me from procrastinating, and it's a 3-minute rest period because when you're training to failure, you're going to need a little bit more time. You want to be pretty fresh going to these sets. If you're doing higher volume training, we're doing like 4 or 5 sets, you can probably cut your rest period down because you're making that intensity up through the volume. So this is my back off set, which is just body weight, really controlled on this one. I'm not so much thinking about just banging out the reps. I'm thinking about driving my elbows in, squeezing as much as I can, and trying to get my chin as high as I can without my shoulders rolling. That's the thing that a lot of people do with pull-ups. They let the shoulders pop forward, keep the chest open, and we're really driving our elbows down into our body. Again, pushing to failure, which is why we have the long rest periods. Some people can train this way, some people can't, but I enjoy it, so I'm going to stick to it. Right, next up, got a different exercise that you're probably used to. You might not have seen it before, you might have, but I'm a big fan of this exercise. Single arm landmine row. So set a barbell up either into the back of the wall or on a landmine. You're going to probably need straps for this because you're going to have to grab the end of the barbell unless you get a little handle attachment, which you can also get. But set up a bench in front of you, set the barbell up to the back. It's pretty much the same thing as a single arm dumbbell row. However, with the landmine, the further that you get up, the easier the exercise becomes, which works perfectly for the lat. Because if you think about it, the further that you get up into this exercise, into a single arm row, the weaker you actually are. So it's all about resistance curves and strength curves. If you want to research a bit more of that, the likes of the muscle mentors, Josh Bridgman, all them sort of people, very good if you want to understand a bit more of the bodybuilding physics, I guess it is. But you're weaker in that position. This gets a little bit lighter, so you can kind of work that range of motion a little bit more. Anyway, setup. I see a lot of people do single arm rows wrong. So a lot of people, well, first of all, a lot of people set up in this sort of position with the knee on the bench. Do not do that. Trust me, do not do that. I had a double hernia repair a few years ago, and for a full year I was doing single arm rows like that. Puts a lot of pressure on the groin, also makes your hips at a very unstable, slight angle, which is obviously very good for your spine. There's a lot of other problems that can go around it. Anyway, so set the bench up in front of you. In terms of foot position, there's two feet positions that you can have. Either a neutral stance, which I quite like, or a staggered stance, but with the leading leg forward at the same hand that you're going to work. If you're going opposites, you open up the lat and put it in a more stretched position. We want a lot more stability at the hip, and we want this lat to get as short as possible in that position. So we're getting it as tight as possible, so you can feel the lat contracting when we're rowing. Same in this position, so feet neutral. Grab the barbell right at the end, hook grip round, and all we're going to think about is driving the barbell back towards the hip, rather than up towards the shoulder, which a lot of people do. So you're rowing back towards the hip, thinking about driving the elbow back rather than rowing up, which a lot of people do. Also, I'll show you from a different angle. You don't want to let the elbow flare out to the side. The good thing about this exercise is it keeps you tucked in to really work the lat. If we start opening up a bit more, we're going to work a little bit more upper back. Keep everything nice and tucked in. And I'll let my handy assistant take over from me from here.
Right, so I'm back. Obviously walking through this exercise, I've already explained quite a bit of it, but you can see from this angle how I'm really thinking about driving my elbow back towards my hip. The good thing about this exercise is it kind of forces you to do that, because as you can see, as the weight comes up, the lever, the handle actually goes a little bit further back towards your hip. Really think about trying to roll your elbow round your back rather than just straight up. I see a lot of people, again, letting the elbows flare out. Keeps you nice and tucked in. Using my right arm just to support me a little bit. I think this was 32.5 kg. Again, pushing to failure. Really trying to squeeze that lat as much as I can. Really focusing on the muscle. Again, it's bodybuilding focused. So that is what we're working on. Just showing the other side from a slightly different angle. You can see it a bit better how I'm kind of arcing my elbow around my body at the top. Really trying to wrap it around my spine. This is just working the lat in terms of where it inserts in your spine. Round into the corner, right in the middle of the spine. So you'll feel it a lot more doing this way. Again, trying to keep your core nice and stable. You don't want to let too much rotation happen. You want it all to be kind of from the shoulder and from the elbow rather than from the spine. A lot of people end up doing single arm rows and the shoulder pops up, the shoulders are popping all over the place. A little bit of rotation is fine, but not too much. Again, this is the final set, backed off to, what's that there, 27.5. Really rolling that elbow back, trying to keep my spine neutral, head's neutral as well. That's another point that I might not have made. Keep the head neutral. I don't want to see people looking in the mirror, looking up, looking too far down. I always like to see keep a neutral spine. A lot of the time for clients, I say to them, imagine you're trying to create a double chin, just tuck your chin in a little bit. But yeah, my foot position, you can see I've went a little bit more neutral stance to this one. When the weight gets a bit heavier, I like to drop my non-supporting leg back a little bit just because I feel more comfortable. But when it's lighter, you can go neutral. It's a little bit safer on the spine. Keeps your hips nice and neutral. So when you can, go neutral stance if possible. I'll grind out the last rep. If I can't, nope. There we go.
So next, a little bit of a back exercise. I've got a little bit of a lower back injury, so I would normally do something like a heavy bent over row right now, but I'm going to do inverted rows, a little bit safer. You can do this on Smith machines, on squat racks. If you've got a TRX hanging down, do them on there. Alberto Nunez If you don't know who he is, Alberto Nunez, 3DMJ, all them, give him a follow. And he's a big fan of these. So all you need is a bench in front of you. There's loads of different variations of it, but we're going to do a higher variation, trying to work a little bit more lats. On this one, I'm going to load it. All it is just something that you can do to help build up your pull-ups. If you're struggling with trying to get pull-ups out, start with these. You can start with a lower bar, do it bent-legged, which I'll put a few videos in as I'm going. All it's going to be is pretty much an inverted pull-up where your body's parallel. I'm going to load it, same sort of thing, one heavy set, one back half set, and just make sure you're driving the chest, elbows back, keeping the chest up, let the head drop back a little bit, work the glutes and hamstrings to keep the hips up high as well, so your body should be nice and stiff. Also as well, before you start, make sure your bench is securely fastened. I'll just put 2 mats down to make sure it doesn't move. If you need to stick a dumbbell on it or anything, yeah, just make sure, because you need your feet on there.
Right, so back again. You're probably sick of me by now. Anyway, inverted row, obviously you can see how I set it up. It's quite difficult when the bench is high to get the weight on you. So just be careful with how you're doing that. Ideally, if you've got a partner, put it on you, get him to put it on you. It'll be a little bit easier. Try not to use the feet too much to give you a boost. And again, make sure that you're nice and level. Use your glutes and your hamstrings to keep you up. Ideally, it would probably be better for me to use straps. As you can see in the second set, I ended up using straps just because my grip was quite tired already here. And I wasn't getting quite the range of motion as I wanted. As long as the elbows are just passing the torso, so here I'm just about getting there, then it's kind of a full rep. Don't worry about getting your chest to the bar, especially if you're like me, you're a little bit taller and you have longer levers. It's going to be harder for you to get your chest to the bar. This is the back off set. Again, I just went body weight. Use the straps just so fatigue in the grip wasn't going to limit my back movement. It's like a reverse bench press, as you can see, or reverse push up. Exact same movement, but in reverse. Keep everything nice and still. Drive those elbows back. Probably a better one for the upper back rather than the lats. Again, Alberto Nunez, big fan of this one. I'll probably put his social media down below just so you can check him out, because you should follow him. If you're into bodybuilding, he is one of the best natural bodybuilders out there. So again, pushing to failure, trying to keep everything still, and even just trying to get the last few little quarter reps out if I can get them out. Again, this style of training, you want to be quite intense with it and push as hard as you can.
So that's all the main movements finished. Normally pick 2 or 3 main movements for my back. The rest is just going to be little bits of isolations. You don't really need to do, for example, I don't normally do too much rear delt isolation because I think you get enough from rowing stuff and people probably overdo it. You could do any sort of face pull, rear delt, incline fly, reverse pec deck, but I'm going to do a TRX face pull. Similar to the T-bar row, the exercise gets a little bit easier the further up you go, just because the gravity is obviously going to be a little bit less weight at the top, which works perfectly with the contraction of the rear delts and the upper back. So the further you get, the weaker you will get, but the lighter the exercise gets. You can also do this on obviously a cable in the gym, or I've got bands which I sometimes do them on. Insert clip now. But we're just going to do 2 or 3 sets, isolations, drop the rest period down to 60 to 90 seconds. You don't need a lot of time. I up the rep ranges to between 10 and 20 on this as well. Focusing more on the contraction on this one and just go a little bit lighter and connect with the movement. Going to do a quick 2 sets on here and move on to the next movement.
Again, not too much to say about this one, as long as you're keeping your elbows nice and high, really trying to pull the wrist backwards. You'll feel your rear delt and your upper back working. It's rear delt stuff. I'm not going to put too many clips into this one, but again, just make sure that you're pushing to failure on these sets. These ones will hit you quite quickly. 1 second you'll be fine, the next second you'll be buggered.
So 2 more exercises to go. I always try and throw in at least 1 core movement, even if I'm bodybuilding, doing more conditioning, functional stuff. So I always try and throw in at least 1 core movement per workout, whether I'm doing conditioning, bodybuilding style, or functional bodybuilding, whatever it is. Today's obviously a bit more bodybuilding specific, but I'm still going to throw in a core movement. Renegade rows. Renegade rows is what we're going to do. So 2 dumbbells in a plank position, row, trying to keep the hips nice and still, row. A lot of people let the hips tilt side to side. If you're struggling with it, either drop the weight or take your feet a little bit wider. A little regression, so what you can do just to practice is just a plank shoulder tap, hold in a plank position, trying to keep the hips still, tap one shoulder, tap the other. And what we're looking for is to not let the hips rock side to side. Renegade rows, we're going to do 2 sets of 10 either side, so 20 in total. Sorry, 3 sets we're going to go for, not 2, I lied, 3 sets. Again, not really bodybuilding specific, but you still want a strong core, and this will transfer over into things like deadlifts, squats, bent over rows, other exercises, because you need a strong core. And a lot of people don't train it properly. They think they're going to get abs from doing crunches and stuff like that. You're going to get a strong core, abs from doing compound lifts and also heavy exercises like this, which work your core and stop working anti-rotation. Anyway, jump in, 3 sets of 20.
Again, not too much to say on this one. It's kind of an additional exercise, but I'm a big believer in core, as I've just already said. So I always try and throw them in. This is the one that I was throwing in for a lot of my clients at home when they were in isolation, in lockdown. Great back movement, great core movement, trying to keep the hips still as possible. As you can see, it gets pretty tough towards the last few sets when you're only resting probably like a minute in between sets. But next exercise.
So finally, going to finish off with some bicep isolation. Again, similar to rear delts. Rear delts not essential because you're probably hitting enough biceps through all the heavy pulling you're doing, but if you want to grow your arms, you should definitely throw in some isolations. I'm not prioritising my biceps, I'm prioritising my back and more specifically my lats at the minute. So I'm only going to do 2 sets of these, but you can do 3 sets, 4 sets, whatever you need to do. Just going to put the bench on a slight little incline just to keep us fixed in position. Dumbbells in a supinated position, so we're opening up the palms facing out. Keep the palms facing out all the time, nice and controlled. Slowing the weight down, feel the weight. We're not swinging. When people do bicep curls and they're swinging, all they're going to be doing is loading the tendons and ligaments and also not really getting too much bicep action. So go light, feel the movement. 2 or 3 sets between 10 and 20 reps to failure.
So biceps, obviously to finish, I've already touched on the technique on this. I like to keep my elbows kind of externally rotated, so rotated outwards as much as you can. You might not have the shoulder mobility for this one, but I want to make sure that you keep your shoulder blades back. I've done this with a lot of my clients who don't have good shoulder mobility, and what ends up happening is the shoulders ended up popping forward and they can't quite get their arms straight at the bottom. So work on your shoulder mobility. It's massively important, even for simple exercises like biceps. Again, pushing to failure all the way up and really slowing the weight down, and at the bottom you almost want to extend your triceps, so squeeze your triceps so you're getting full extension, then driving all the way up to failure, making sure that you're kind of driving up with your pinky and rotating in to get as much bicep work as possible. Then I thought I'd just throw in a shameless back pause thing just to update myself, I guess. It's been a while since I've done this, but back's always been one of my stronger movements. But this is the routine that I'm going to be working with for the near future.
So that is pull day wrapped up, very bodybuilding specific. I've been trying to lean a little bit more towards that style of training. 1, because I'm enjoying it, and 2, because I want to put on a little bit more muscle. Still going to be implementing conditioning, functional bodybuilding stuff as well, but just some days it's going to be more bodybuilding specific, working on progressive overload on certain exercises. Again, 1 top set, 1 back off set, just trying to work up the rep ranges, and then once we get to the top of the rep range, then we increase the weight, and then keep on increasing. So that's the best way to do it if you want to build some muscle. If you want to find out a bit more about my training, follow me. Follow my Instagram down below, it's in the bio. If you're interested in online coaching, so working with myself or even one-to-one personal training, drop me a message, leave a comment, message me on Instagram, emails down below. Any of them are the best way to contact me. We can organise a quick consultation call, quick little chat, get to know each other, see how I can help you, and we can move forward and put a good plan in place. Training, nutrition, recovery, everything is covered. So, as always, subscribe down below for more videos. Let me know what you want to see, podcasts, YouTube, content, everything. Just let me know. Drop me a message. I'll reply as quick as possible. And thank you very, very much for listening as always. Don't know why I said listening, it's a video. Thank you very much for watching as always. See you in the next video. Over and out.